Okay, everybody. Today's video is going to be on using Task Manager to measure Ethernet link and transfer speed. Now, anytime you have an Ethernet cable or device or a set of devices, there's a certain amount of data that you can send, a maximum amount of data that you can send through it before the errors reaching the other end are too high, and you can't go any faster because the bit error rate gets to be too high. So no matter whether it's just a simple cable like this and this cable, which is a crossover cable, it could represent an actual wide area network, a WAN, where this end could be New York City and this could be Los Angeles, and you have an entire country in between. So in the Ethernet world, it doesn't really, the distance isn't that big a deal, except for some things called latency, but we're not even going to worry about that. But the main point is that no matter what kind of system you have, whether giant or small, when you have when you have it inserted, the devices on either end will have a definite amount of bandwidth that they can occupy and pass through. And the only way to really test it is to actually test it, which is to hook it up and turn the pipes on full blast and see what happens. So I'm going to go through first just a demonstration on how to use the program to test. I'll show two different methods. One method is using a program to automatically send data both ways from one laptop to the other simultaneously, and send that data as fast as it possibly can until it can get any faster with the errors. So that's one method, and the other method that I'll show you is using a shared folder and copying a large file from one laptop to the other, and confirming that the transfer speeds in both directions are what you expect and what they would be rated for. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up. I'm going to start with connecting the crossover cable here first. Now this crossover cable can be connected to one of these gender bender feed throughs, and then you can take any regular straight through cable that you wanted to test and connect these together, and now do the test that way. But this would be your reference to start with. So we're going to do the test first with these cables here together, and then we're going to do a test with the two little Netgear Ethernet switches that I have daisy chained. So, and these are topped out at 100 megs each. So we'll see how the data rates change from when you have a direct cable as opposed to when you have to go through, in this case, two different switches to get in between the two computers. So let me get set up with that, and then we'll do the demo. Stand by. Okay, I'm back, and I now have the two laptops connected together with the crossover cable, the gender adapter, and a straight through. And I'm going to be referring to this laptop here for the screen recording, and we'll be doing everything basically over here. This laptop here is kind of like the slave, and it's just going to have the one program waiting to be contacted by the other. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the screen mode on this laptop here. And we're going to start off here in Task Manager and I'm over here at the performance tab, and we're looking at Ethernet. And if I come down here and right click and go view network details, you can see that I'm currently connected, and it's giving me this link speed of 1 gigabit per second on my Ethernet. And so that's showing you what the two laptops auto negotiated when the cables were connected to each other. And I'll go into that in detail later on, but for this demo here, I just wanted to show you that how it was connected. So for my first test here, I'm going to use this program. It's called Comm Test, and it's made by this guy. He has a site called roadkill.net, and it's a bunch of freeware stuff, and it's really extremely simple program, almost nothing to it, but it does exactly what you want, which is just send packets at full blast in both directions. So I have the other laptop, its counterpart pulled up on it. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to it here, and I've already assigned static IP addresses to both of them. So I'm just entering the address of the other one, and here we see right off the gate we're coming out, and let me drag this down over here. The Comm Test here is given the data out in kilobytes, and this is in megabits. And remember, there's 8 bits for each byte. So that's if you're wondering about the discrepancy in numbers. So just same way of describing the same thing. But you can see right now we're averaging about 500 going each way, which is an incredible amount of data. But this is kind of like the perfect system here with a direct connection from computer to computer. So that's a good demonstration of that system. So let me go ahead and stop that, and we'll go ahead and exit out of that, and we'll exit out of that. So that is a great test for looking at your, like I said, if this was, you had a bunch of cables you wanted to test, you could just pull this out, reinsert this, and test them one at a time. And if there was anything wrong with the cable, there's no way you could get speeds like that. It would show it right away. So it's a great test to do, and not rely on the initial the auto negotiation speeds, because they're kind of inaccurate in a lot of ways, depending on what kind of devices you're measuring. They give the benefit of the doubt of the fast speed because they do it so fast. But anyway, I'll get into that in more detail. I'm going to go ahead and stop here and disconnect the direct cables here, and now go through the two switches there and give the demonstration of the alternate way of doing the test. So stand by for that. Okay, I'm back, and now we are connected between our two laptops through these two Netgear FS105 switches. And like I said, these are going to be maxed out at 100 meg a piece, and they don't do really well with full duplex going both ways. I can tell you that now from testing them extensively. But they do just fine in one direction for sure, which is what most people use anyway. There's very few people that are actually sending large files in both directions. So anyway, this is the setup that we have, and in most business structures, including for my own work and a lot of other places, there's no way that the people who are in control of the IT systems are going to allow you the firewall permission to run a program like that when we just use the roadkill program. It would be completely forbidden, and rightfully so. That I wouldn't blame them if you know, I wouldn't even ask them, but certainly wouldn't blame them if they would. However, there is another way of testing speeds individually, and although it can't do full duplex, it does test it a really good speed test in each direction, and that is there's two different ways. One is having two computers like I have set up here, where I have a folder set up on this one that's a shared folder with this laptop. So when they have a network connection between them, this laptop can access a folder that's on this one. The second method would be if you had a third independent server out there, a network server like we have at my work, that doesn't matter about connecting an actual PC to PC. You can still measure server to server, and as long as those are the same, then you know your connections are good. So what I'm going to do for this demo, like I said, I have a shared folder here. I'm going to get in and I'm going to transfer a large file. I'm going to cut and paste it from one laptop to the other, and then look at it on Task Manager and look at the data rates as they go by. So I'm going to start off by coming over here and looking at the network, and right now it's showing the connection not good. I don't know if I have to refresh it. This is I'm not sure. Let's see here. Disconnect. Oh, well, how about we try this before we abandon all hope? And there it is. Okay, it's back. All right. Sorry about that. Anyway, so we have the common folder, which is this one here. I just had to close out the thing and reload it. And it currently has the 2 gigabit folder in it. And over here, I have a 400 megabit load. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut and paste. I'm going to cut it from this location and put it over on the other laptop, and then look at the transfer rate here. So let me cut and then come over here and paste. And there you go. And you can see it's transferring at 10 megabytes, which is 100, almost 100 megabits per second. So you can see it here. And let me pull them up at the same time. So we got, we're approaching 100% here for what what Netgear, can promise at 100 megabits. So that's doing perfect. That's max speed with no flaws there. So you see it successfully transferred that folder, and now when I come over to here, now it's over here on the other computer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to cut and paste it back to where it was originally at and look at the transfer speeds that way. So I'll go cut and then come down here to paste, And there you can see it's going again. And once again, you can do the comparison down here. Now we're receiving at close to 100 megahertz, megabits per second. So this is another way of confirming that everything in between you and wherever this data is being sent from is good. Because if anything wasn't, you couldn't transfer at these rates and you would see it. And I can tell you that the connection status things, just because it says over here, so you can see on this one, now we're connected at 100 megabits per second on our link speed. Just because it's connected that way, that is no guarantee that that's how much you're actually going to be pushing through. There's so many other variables there. So, but anyway, there's your two demos. I hope this shows you the ability to test. And I'm going to go ahead and pause this. And the rest of the video is going to be kind of a geek dive into the details about how to set this up. And some of the behind the scenes stuff about the link speed and auto negotiation, and how the laptop or any PC, how it actually knows it's on the internet or not when you see that internet connection come up, etc., etc. So anyway, I'm going to pause and reset, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I'm back. Now I'm going to go through these steps one by one, just so I don't leave anybody out who might not have prior experience in doing any of this. So I'm going to start off with setting that static IP address up on each one of these computers here. I did one here and second one here. So let's start by having a look over here at this one, and I'm going to come over here and right click on it and go properties. And I'm going to come down where it says IPv4, and I'm going to click on it so it's highlighted, and then I'll go properties again. And here I've clicked on this button here. It'll default up here to the automatic one, but I clicked it here, and then I typed in my address here and just used the default subnet mask that came up when I got through it. Now I named the other computer 3, and this one's 2, and this is just a real generic type of 1,000,001 computers with this number kind of thing. I didn't worry at all about a gateway or a DNS server or any of that stuff, because it doesn't need any of that, because it's just 2 computers talking to each other, and that's all they needed. So that's where I get the static IP address. Now I wanted to show you something about when I talk about that auto negotiate, where that's set up. So if you come in here and go into configure, yes, I'll go ahead and say yes. I'll show you, and we go over here in advanced, and we come down to where it says speed and duplex, and we have a drop down menu, and these are all the different settings that we can set. Now the default one, and the one you should really keep it unless you really know what you're doing, and I'll tell you the one exception, is in auto negotiation. And this is kind of like a special language that as long as the other computer or device, network device has auto negotiation too, when the 2 devices first connect to each other, they send information back and forth at different speeds, and they adjust the speed up and down until where it works. and then they agree that, okay, well, this is how fast that we can talk. And this happens in a split second. Sometimes longer if there's problems. It might take a few seconds or more. But this is where that thing is decided. And once this is negotiated out, this is where you could come into Task Manager here, and you can tell what did they decide on. In this particular case, the computer and the Netgear switch talked it over and decided it was going to be 100 megabits per second here. Now, if any of the two devices are set to one of these other ones, well, they're like stubborn mules in the fact that they insist that you talk to them in this particular matter, speed, and one at a time or both at the same time. And if you don't do exactly this, well, there's going to be problems, and it's not going to make sense for either one of you. So that's why these are rarely even talked about or used. I will say this, I am a real big fan, though, if you have a particular device or computer, whatever it is, and it's running a very simple program that uses very small, discrete packets of stuff. It's not streaming video or anything like that, but it has a very sensitive program to where it's very easy to interrupt it by having intermittent data or data that's bad or got checksum error, whatever the fluctuating in speed, whatever it is. If that's the case, you may want to consider turning your connection down to 10 megabits, I should say, per second. And that makes whatever the device that you're hooked up to speak really slow. And you demand it from that device so that you don't have to worry about, trying to push it to the edge of like, well, I can take it up to 30 megahertz. Yeah, but I'm only sending a 2 kilohertz packet of info. I don't care if it takes another microsecond or two. It's worth it to be much more reliable and for sure than it is to have it. So anyway, that's where this is set at, and you can get in here and play with this, and this really has some interesting effects when you hard set it, depending on what kind of device you set. Like the Netgear switches kind of handle it, but not really. They have some issues when you hard press the connection speed. Although they brag in their literature about being able to easily interpret any of those and adjust accordingly, but it doesn't work that way as far as when you actually measure it. So that's another good thing for this test. So anyway, that's where you get that at. So now we can go on to the program here for the Comm Test. It's just a simple EXE program, so you literally just clicking on that. Now what's going to happen though is when you come up the first time when you try and use it, your firewall is going to scream at you. And I just wanted to show you, if you are running your own equipment and you're the administrator of everything, of how you can get in. This is the home page for the Windows Defender, and they got this thing over here on the left that says allow an app. So you click on the allow an app or feature, and when it comes up, you can come down and find, and here we're at Comm Test, and this is where you can give it rights to private, public, or neither. And if you need to change it, you need to click on this first. But anyway, this is where you can actually make sure things are on and off with your firewall. But I wanted to show that to you. Now, the next thing is when you are in Task Manager, the the thing I don't like about it is once you bring up this particular detail thing, it kind of locks into it, and even when you disconnect it, it doesn't show you, and you can't change anything until you exit out of this. So I don't leave this up. I look at it and then I get out of it, so that I get more live things. The other thing that you can do on your task manager is under options. You can go where it says set default tab, and you can make it to where when it comes up with your task manager, it already comes up under performance instead of the process. It's just one further thing that you don't have to do when you're doing that. Okay, and the final item is the where it's supposed to change state over here on your on your Ethernet indicator, where when you get connected to the internet, this globe with a hash mark will turn into a picture of a monitor with a arrow looking thing. And how this happens is that whenever you connect your Ethernet or wireless to anything, and it thinks it has a network connection of some type, it will try and ping a server that Microsoft, one of two servers that Microsoft has out there in the world everywhere. And if they get the text message reply from that server, they consider it good, that they're definitely connected to the internet, because otherwise how could they talk to the server? Now, they don't do any kind of test as far as speed or can it download a web page or anything like that. It's just this simple ping and reply. So when you see the symbol down here come up, don't have faith that that means you have some awesome internet connection. It means that even if you had a barely working cable that was just hanging on, and you could just get that reply from the server at Microsoft, it would turn good. So keep that in mind whenever you're having issues, that just because you get connected to the internet symbol, that doesn't mean that you have a good connection. So hope that helps, and that's it for this one, and we'll talk to you soon.